Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Nikola Petkovic and today I will be talking to you about how to invest in real estate. In this video we're gonna go through 6 points which will bring you to a clarity which you need to actually know what kind of investment you're going to make before you make it, of course. These 6 points are what's gonna be the use of your property, what's the rental strategy that you have in plan for the property, who will manage the property? Do you want it to be yourself or some other company? Fourth point will be, are you going for capital gain or you're more interested in a higher rental yield? Fifth point will be, when are you actually planning to exit the property? And the sixth point will be the finance and your budget. So the way you plan to finance it and what's your original budget for it. Now, we'll start from the beginning. And actual beginning is you actually contact me for this and we get it done, right? But nevertheless, let's talk about the first point. So the first point will be, what's the actual use of the property? What do you have in mind? Do you want to use the property yourself or you want to rent it out? Which brings us to another question. If you want to use the property by yourself, full time, so you're gonna live in the property yourself with your family or however, then what you will be expecting is the increase of the price when you decide to sell the property, or your primary interest would be to save the money from rent, so you don't have to rent an apartment because you are paying your own, right? But the other part, which is renting out the property, is where things get a little bit more complicated. So when you want to rent out the property, it brings us to the second point, which is, what's the rental strategy? If you want to rent your property out, you have to keep in mind and ask yourself, what would you want to do? Which is, do you want to rent the property on a yearly basis, which we have here in Dubai? So we are renting the property, for an example, from 1st of January 2022 to 1st of January 2023. Right now, this type of contract is the safest for you and tenant as well, and it is registered in a government system which is called Ejari. So there is a contract in place which is actually given by the government, okay? And on top of that, you have any sort of addendum that you want to make clear for yourself or your tenant as well. This is the simplest way to do it, but there is other ways, of course, as well. Now, the second point when it comes to renting is short term, and when you want to rent a property out on a short term basis, you have a few options there as well. So first one is, maybe you're gonna rent it out on a monthly basis. If you're gonna rent it out on a monthly basis, you will usually achieve a little bit higher rental yield from it, so you will be able to charge a little bit more. But short terms comes on a monthly basis and daily basis, which is hotel type when you rent it through Airbnb and stuff like that. A couple of points there as well. If you're renting it on a monthly basis, it might be most useful to actually furnish the property and rent it out with bills included, right? And if you are going to rent it out on short term, you have the same thing, sorry, on a daily basis. You are doing the same thing. So you're renting the property and you're paying the bills for it, but you're charging more because it's per day. So you can rent it out through Airbnb to tourists or whoever who will actually pay you to stay there for one day or for a week or even a month, doesn't matter. But because it's a daily option as well, your price is even higher than the monthly option. Now, when it comes to it, it brings us to the third point, which is, who will manage the property. When you are renting the property on a yearly basis, there is not much management involved there, right? So you rent a property or a company rents the property for you. When a company like our brokerage will be renting the property for you, there is no charge for you as a landlord. But when talking about the long term, of course. But if you are renting the property on short term, then it's a different strategy in place. So you need a management company, and especially if you want to rent it daily, right? So you can do it yourself, of course, but it's really a lot of work because you constantly have to book the tenants, give answer to all the messages. If there is any problem, you need to be there, or some of your representatives needs to be there. You need to check who the tenants are. You need to know when they are coming in, when they are coming out, clean the property, provide anything else, repair anything if that's broken. So there is really a lot of work involved. And if you want a company to do this for you, they know to charge a lot. So in some extents, in some hotels, they will even charge you up to 40% of the total earnings, right? So 40% of the total earnings is the maximum capacity for the company management. There is options for lower than that. Of course, I'm talking this is the highest point in the high-end hotels, right? So counted anywhere between 20 and 40%, depending on the total services. Like if you want a full package for you not to be bothered at all, of course, it's gonna cost you more. After giving a thought to who's gonna manage the property, we are coming to the fourth point, which is: are you actually focused on achieving the highest rental yield, or you want to go for capital growth? Now, if you want to go for rental yield, and what the rental yield is, right? It's rent when you're renting out your property, you have a certain percentage that you are earning from the property, let's say on a yearly basis, right? Now we explained that when you're going for a full year contract, this figure will be lower than when you are renting it out on monthly or daily, because you can charge more for the same property which you paid the same amount for. So your percentage of return on investment will be higher, although so will be your workload, or you will have an additional expense of management company, which we just discussed. But the big point there is to decide that, and to know that if you are going for higher rental yield, you will not be automatically going for the highest possible capital gain. Now, why is that? It's because higher rental yield is achieved in communities that are not the center of the city, that are not the prime areas. So you will be looking at areas which is, for an example, a JVC, Jumeirah Village Circle. In this area, you will be able to achieve 7 or 8% return, let's say, while the average in Business Bay will be 4%, 4.5, 5% return, so, or rental yield. So if you're going for a higher rental yield, you will get lower capital gain. But if you're going for higher capital gain, so if the same property, you have the property as well in Business Bay, you can expect higher capital growth, but as mentioned, your rental yield or return on investment will be around 4.55%, somewhere in that range on average, right? Unless you got a really, really good deal when you were buying the property, which is not likely. But anyway, back to rental yield itself. So you are not going for prime areas, and you are not expecting as high capital gain, although it's possible you will have some. But again, if the property in Business Bay will have 20% capital gain, let's say, the property in JVC will most likely have around 5-6%. So not more than that, definitely not equal to these prime areas such as Business Bay or downtown, not to mention even Palm Jumeirah and areas like this. That's the biggest point. But the good thing when it comes to higher rental yield, and if you choose that, is that properties are also lower priced at the start. So price per square foot of these properties that are not in the center of the city is, of course, a lot lower than the one that is in the center of the city and prime areas. When it comes to capital gain, so as mentioned, we are talking here about the prime areas of the city. Some of those areas I just mentioned, like Business Bay or Meydan or Palm Jumeirah or Dubai Marina. So we are talking about places where there is a lot of tourists, where there is a lot of activity. There is either a nightlife or a lot of offices such as Business Bay. Definitely a lot of activities, business center hubs and centers of the city itself, right? Now, these areas, of course, are always in more demand, so they are higher in price as well. So whenever you're going for that, expect a higher price point. You will get a higher price per square foot, and you will usually get a little bit smaller apartment, because in these centers, and prime areas, it's very uncommon to develop large apartments. So if an average size of a one bedroom in Jumeirah Village Circle, which we mentioned, will be 750, 800 square foot, one bedroom apartment in Business Bay on average will be maybe 650 square foot, 600 square foot, depending on the property as well. But you will pay more for it because it actually costs you a higher amount in price per square foot. Although you are expecting there a higher capital gain if this is your goal again. These two combined. So once you know what rental yield is and what capital growth is and what to expect from each. Once you know that, it brings us together to who your target audience is for renting out the property or even selling it later on. So if you are more interested in rental yield, then your target audience will be people who want to live a bit outside of the city, right? So these are the people who are usually residents of Dubai. You will not be targeting tourists in Jumeirah Village Circle or Arthur John or somewhere like that, right? So this will be people who are living in Dubai, who are residents of the city and this country. They usually have their own cars because the transportation system is not that strong here. I mean, public transportation. So they usually have their own car. They have jobs, residence visas, of course, and they are looking for more space. And with more space, they are also interested in some sort of privacy or community feeling, family environment overall. While in prime areas, and if you're going for capital gain, in prime areas, your target audience might be tourists. It might be people who are coming to Dubai who are wealthy, let's say, or just coming to have a good time. They're gonna stay there for maybe 1 month or something like that, or they have offices, let's say, somewhere around. So people who are interested more in nightlife and that type of activities, who like more of a buzz. It's important to know that as well because, again, this is your target audience according to the property you have chosen and what you have in mind. We'll move on to the fifth point, which is the exit strategy. Now, I know you're just buying the property, but you still need to be aware of the exit strategy as well if you want to make the best possible decision. When it comes to exit strategy, so you need to give a thought to when do you actually want to sell. Are you okay if you're going for rental yield? Are you okay to hold the property for 10 years, 15 years, doesn't matter, and just to collect the rental yield from the property itself and then sell it at any price at the time, or wait, even then you have a chance, of course, for the capital gain? Or are you buying this property to let go of it a lot faster? For an example, are you buying it early off plan where you will grab the best possible price, and then what you want to do is sell it once that building reaches completion? You want to sell it and have some gain there. So what's on your mind when it comes to exiting of the property as well? Do you just want to wait for the market to reach its highest point so you will sell, or you will adapt any of these two? With that, we have a final point, sixth point, which is finance and the budget. So if you, depending on your financial situation, which you know best, what's the budget that you can spare for this, and are you really limited by that budget? Or if you find something that you find really worthy and valuable, are you willing to increase it? That's the first thing. And the second, finance itself. Are you okay with paying one time for this property, like clearing it out all at once? Or you are interested to going to mortgage, because you have an option for mortgage even if you're a US resident, resident here in Dubai, or if you are a non-resident as well. Of course, the more options you have if you are resident here and you're interested in mortgage. But if you're not resident and you don't want to pay it in one shot, you also have different payment distributions and payment plans. For an example of payment distribution would be, let's say you're paying 30% now, with which you are actually booking the unit, and you're waiting for some shorter period of time, let's say 1 year, where you will pay 70% on completion. There will be nothing in between. You will pay 70% on completion, and then 30% right? So 30% now, 70% once the building is completed, and you can take the keys, the handover time. Or you're interested in payment plan. The payment plan gives you a little bit more time, so and more installments. So let's say you're buying something that's coming in 2025. You're booking it with 10% now, then every 6 months you're paying another 10%, and then at the end you're paying, let's say, 30% when the time comes in 2025 and the unit is handed over. So these are the most important things to consider. I will leave my contact details in the comment section as well as the description. Feel free to contact me. We can go through all of this in more detail, and then we can make to the conclusion of what property fits the best for you. So once you know these things, you are clear on your idea, we can easily narrow down on the property that you want. Thank you very much. Take care and see you in the next video. Bye bye.